So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is right now streaming live to the PBC Lifestyle and Results Mastermind Group. And this is just a test. Like, as with anything that you do in marketing, you're going to want to test it on a smaller scale before you release it to the world. I'm sure my hand is raised. I've done the opposite. And lo and behold, Murphy always steps in with Murphy's Law, and it goes to crap. So always start small and test with your friends, which exactly you are here inside this Palm Beach County Lifestyle and Results Mastermind. So if you're here, we're going to provide you some immense value that can gain clarity for you leading into the new year to ensure that not only do you finish this year, this decade strongly, but you also set the proper foundation to make 2020 your best year and the 2020s your best decade yet. So I'm pumped up. My name is Tom Beal. And with me, we have Dan Giordano, who also, we're both PBC Lifestyle and Results members here. Dan, are you excited as I am to finish this year strongly and next year amazingly?
Absolutely, man. I'm fired up to be here, fired up that we're working together on some great things, impacting more people and leveraging our skill sets to, accelerate people's growth. So it's going to be a fun run. Yes. Looking forward to it, looking forward to 2020 and, finishing this year strong, setting up the foundation for next year as well.
Yep. 2020. Think about it. Eyesight. 2020 eyesight, baby. You see crystal clearly, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. Now, as you know, and by the way, I commend you for being here watching this, whether you're able to make it live or watch the replay. The time to start preparing for 2020 is not January 1st or that week of January 1st in 2020. If we go back to the Boy Scouts motto, it's be prepared. You want to be prepared prior to. So this is the perfect time. We're, at the time of this recording, roughly 7 weeks out before the new year arrives. And this is the ideal time to begin that planning. And in this brief training, we're going to get right to it. We're not going to, monkey around a little bit. We're going to share with you the CPR method. Think about CPR. When people call 911 and they need it, an emergency, they got the paddles out and they're boom, clear, boom, they hit the people. That's a little more than CPR, but you get what I'm saying. This is a time to reinvigorate your mind, reinvigorate your business, reinvigorate your clarity, your passion, so that you know exactly how to get from where you are to where you want to be. And Dan and I both have massive amounts of industry knowledge. We work with some of the absolute best of the best, most well-known marketers that are alive and some recently passed. And we're going to share with you some simple strategies, the basics, basically, which will set that proper foundation for you. So, Dan, you think we should kick it off with the C? Should we let them know what the C is?
Absolutely. Go for it.
All right. So the C is clarity. Now, here's a quote. This might be a writer downer for you. Lack of clarity is the root of all failure. Once again, lack of clarity is the root of all failure. Think about that. When I have been unclear in any type of endeavor, whether it's personal or professional, whether it was in my bicycling days when I went from not knowing anything to becoming a national bicycle champion, when I wasn't clear on what the next path was, procrastination kicks in, lack of progress kicks in, internal beating myself up kicked in. And the same thing in business, whether it was corporate America or whether it was as an entrepreneur. When I had crystal clear knowing of where we were and where we were going, watch out, things happen. When I wasn't clear, that quote became true. Lack of clarity is the root of all failure. So conversely, clarity is the root of all success. You have anything to share just before we dive into clarity a little bit deeper?
Sure. Yeah. So definitely with clarity, like I find it more and more interesting as I've progressed through the years, like how important that is, because, a lot of times when you first get started, you're trying different things and you're, trying to figure things out. But what I've noticed is nowadays more and more, like, people are more confused and overwhelmed, no matter what level they're at, like, because they're getting advice from a bunch of different people, and everybody's got a different way of doing things, but they're not clear on, like, what's the overall objective for your business? Like, what is it you really want to accomplish? And then more importantly, like, cause you and I both know with all the different businesses we worked with, a lot of people will come to me and say, hey, I want to go from $500,000 to $1 million. Right. And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about why. Right. Because, if you want to do it just because, your competitors are doing it, right, or you're seeing people online saying it, that's one thing. But if you're not, set up to take on the additional risk, the additional capital that it's going to take, the additional payroll, all those types of things, right, then why are we really doing this? So that clarity is really important. And underneath that, obviously, there's a lot of steps that we're going to dive into to help gain that clarity on it. What is the thing you should be working on?
I love how you brought it a layer deeper, right? Because a lot of people think of clarity as far as just, okay, what are the plans and the action steps needing to get there? Okay, here's where we are, here's where we're going. The why is fundamentally important, because without a big why, adversities and challenges are going to throw you off the track, and then you'll sit back and wonder, geez, is it really worth it? Because guess what? Here's the news flash: adversities and challenges will come at you regardless of what level of success you attain. Matter of fact, each level of success comes with bigger, larger, stronger challenges and adversities. That's part of the game. Kind of like Super Mario Brothers. When you get past level 1, you're like, woo, I made it. Get to level 2, like, whoa, what the heck? It just whooped my butt. Same thing in business, whether you're level 0 to 1 or you get level 15 going to level 16. Each level gets harder, has a whole new set of complexities that you don't know until you know. That's the whole process we'll talk about a little bit later. So the why is going to be key, so that you know, because here's another news flash. Myself, Dan, you, any other entrepreneur, regardless of what level they are playing at right now, don't necessarily jump for joy and say, yippee, I get to do this. Every single moment, every single thing that we do. Now, generally, it's an exciting process, but we have to remember that why, which leads to the begin with the end in mind, the destination we're heading to, because there's a lot of things. We don't necessarily like that thing that we may be in the midst of doing, but we do like the destination of where we're heading and why we're heading there. So, Dan, I mean, I'll kick it back over to you. For someone sitting there and like, you know what? And here's something I run across, and I know you do as well, Dan, with people that have achieved dreams that are literally like astronauts growing up wanting to go to the moon. Like a lot of, Dan, you and I work with people that have achieved levels of success they had no idea they would ever attain. And what happens when that occurs is A, comfort zones creep in. B, they forget the why that got them, excited and jazzed up and on purpose and willing to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to turn it into reality. But then they get to this point where it's kind of like the back from the moon syndrome, and they kind of lose that passion. They kind of forget their why. Do you have any quick insights as to what might help people reconnect with the why? Like, why would they want to roll their sleeves up and remember why that got them excited in the beginning, and how they want to get excited now so that it can lead them to the next level? What are some ideas?
Yeah, so there's a couple things that come to mind there. One is a story that I heard years ago from a guy named Dexter Yeager, who's basically responsible for like over 70% of Amway's volume, right? Mm-hmm. And I heard him say this at an event one day, and he said, when I set a goal, I have to milk the want mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. for all it's worth, because I can buy anything I want in life, mm-hmm. right? So
nothing's off limits.
And at the time when I heard it, I was like, I'm trying to understand that, because I wasn't at that level, right? Mm-hmm. But as I've progressed, one of the things I've noticed is when I'm in, when I'm really clear on what I want and I'm in alignment with that why, right? Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, I'm sure you've heard this, where your head is the logical part, and then the heart is why, your soul, the thing that's in alignment. When those two things are in alignment, and then tap that into, call it God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, unlimited things are possible, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're really clear on why you want what you want, and maintaining that over over once you hit these different benchmarks, because I can tell you, comfort does come in when you have cash in the bank, right? And you're like, it's easy. But then you would see, like, all of a sudden this downtick, right? Of like, okay, what's going on? And then all of a sudden you got to kick it in high gear again, right? And be like, what's going on? But it's because you're disconnecting from why you're really doing what you're doing, right? Something bigger than yourself.
Yep. I love that. And here's something that, as you're saying that, it totally relates to it. But when you mention what Dexter said, you and I deal with clients that literally the bank account, they can do what they want, where they want, when they want, and with whom they want at any point. And there can be that loss of drive or inner passion, that connection with the heart. One of the things that I've learned and had to remind people recently is, when you're at that stage of business is well, life is good, there's the question that I feel is kind of counter to what some people think might be the way to get to what you want, but it's very powerful. What don't you want? Here's what I don't want. And when you gain clarity on here's what I don't want for my business, and really break it down, I'm like, okay, we are where we are, and I'm thankful and grateful for where we are right here, right now. But here's what I don't want. What I don't want is, and if someone's at a high level, I don't want what happens with many very successful businesses when new leadership comes in. A couple generations of new leadership, it may not be on the trajectory that they want, right? And what I
Right.
don't want is a business that I built to really decline when I transition, or that person that I transition to transitions. I want to build systems in place that not only can keep the systems, the processes, the team excited and jazzed up, but also is able to recognize that things change much more quickly than they did in our grandparents' generation. One company that comes to mind, because I was raised in this area, Rochester, New York, is Xerox and Kodak. Kodak in particular, let's talk about that. It reigned as champion of the camera world until its team didn't see where digital cameras were going. And they said, they pushed it away. We said, well, we're sticking with film. And they bet it all on film. And guess what? Film got left in the dust. So we went from a blue chip stock company to bankruptcy, right? So what I don't want is a team that's so set in the systems and processes that I create to not recognize a change in the paradigm of how business is done. I want our business to be able to have processes and steps in place that can feel the measurement from the most important data of where are people voting with their wallets. And if we notice a trend where, hey, they've been voting this way and all of a sudden it's been dipping down, whoa, we're nimble enough to say what's happening, why is it happening, and we're able to adapt accordingly. And that's one position. So we're talking about successful companies and things like that. Let's bring it back to the beginners or intermediates, because we're crossing paths with people that have already had massive success. Maybe they sold that business off, they took a little vacation, now they're starting a new business. Just because you've had success previously doesn't guarantee you'll have success now. Right?
Right.
So we have to step up to the bat, just like everybody in baseball. It's a new pitcher, it's a new day, and a new time at bat. It doesn't matter if you got a home run last at bat. This is a new time, and we have to, use all the skill we have to get on base. And a base hit's great. Second, is better. A triple is great, and a home run's great. But just getting on base is the first caliber in motion. So, what don't you want? What I don't want is to expend a lot of time, energy, and effort and get nothing in return. What I don't want is being unable to pay the expenses for the expansion of the business that I have in mind. What I don't want is, et cetera, et cetera. And then that transitions over to, okay, if that's what I don't want, here's what I do want. And then that has to go back to the previous step of the why, right? Because bottom line is, the good news is you only work half days as an entrepreneur, and you get to pick which 12 hours that is.
Right.
A lot of people are like, yeah, I work too much in corporate America, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And then like, holy crap, I'm the worst boss I ever had.
Right.
So the clarity. So C in the CPR is clarity. And the step that really solidifies the clarity is knowing deep in your heart the why you're doing it. And that's different for each of us. And the why is towards motivation and away from motivation. I don't want my family homeless. I don't want to be unable to put the food and the clothing and the proper things, the shelter for my family. What I do want is to be able to put them into the best schooling possible. What I want to do is provide them with the healthiest journey possible, get them into sports that can build their minds and have a proper understanding of nutrition and how the world works, and then proper education, et cetera. What I want is to be able to take my spouse and family on numerous trips per year, et cetera. So you transition the why I'm doing it, and then, the personal aspect why. And then hopefully most people that I run across believe in this quote that really inspired me years ago when I heard it from Zig Ziglar. You can have everything in life you want if you simply help enough others get what they want. So I will tell you this right now, and this is due to my own experience and working with so many others. If you don't believe in your product or service with your absolute whole heart, find a product or service that you can. Right. And let's just start at the beginning of clarity. If you have any inklings that, this may not be the best that find something that you can stake your claim and boom, this is the absolute best. And for people that are looking for this, yeah, there's other competitors, but they don't get what they get with us. Right. So that's the initial clarity and the belief. And then, the why are we doing this? Well, the nice part about it is the law of sowing and reaping. The more people we impact positively with our products or services, the more we're rewarded with proper marketing that's done smartly, that has a good ROI in the lifetime of the new the prospects turning into clients. You're able to make that transition in a profitable manner. And the more people you impact positively, the more you and your company is impacted positively with a nice side result of monetary gains and profits. So why? The why encompasses a personal aspect, the professional aspect. And I'll have a brief training here in a second on what I do with my elite clients to get them laser focused on the clarity. But first, I want to bounce it over to Dan. Anything else before I jump into the quiver of clarity?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely you threw a lot there, so we could probably go for days on that. But so I think the biggest thing is what knowing what you don't want, because I think a lot of times we see these other business models that are out there that may be similar and think that that's what I want to do, right? And I've been down the path where I've done big events just like you, right? And the amount of work that goes into those things, right?
Right.
There's one thing very clear for me, right? I don't want to do big events again, right?
Right.
Because I've been down that path, did it for years. Not that I don't want to do events. I want to do smaller, more intimate workshop type events because that's where I can have the biggest impact, right? So when you're thinking through like what is it that you actually want, right? And then why do you want that? And then what do you not want your business to look like, right? Because if you're comparing yourself to other business models that are out there, right? Like I don't care how much money some of the big names out there in the industry make, right? I know for a fact that I don't want their business model, right? I don't want all that comes with it, right? So as you were sharing there, is like, I was thinking about exactly how I've gained clarity over the years of like, okay, why I've been hesitant to do certain things, why I've been hesitant to go down that path again in the speaking industry is because I know I don't want a big event and all the headaches that go with it, right? And I don't believe that that's where my maximum impact can happen, right? My maximum impact can happen working one-on-one and in small groups because I can give you the most value that way, right? So when you're clear on that, right, and that clear on how you can serve people, right, it's magic. And I call it, influence in the influencers, like, creating that ripple effect without, trying to, save the world, and get everybody, right? Type thing. Yep.
And as you're saying that, Dan, it reminded me of my own journey, similar type of scenario. We've done the big events. And let me just state, what Dan and I are sharing is where we are right now. And this can change. We want you to share where you are right now. Right. And just because you've done certain things in the past doesn't mean you have to continue to do them in the future. What you can do is discern what's worked for you, what didn't work for you, and are the things that worked in the past still in alignment, or have they served their purpose? And you've learned your lessons and it's time to adapt. So there may be a time in a year, 2, 3 years, who knows when, that Dan may see, well, you know what, we've put together a platform that there can be a large audience. I don't necessarily have to be the one on the stage doing it, but we have a team that delivers massive value to those people. And then it escalates through the process to work with the elite guru on a more personal one-on-one level. So maybe a brief time on stage, but not having to run the whole kit and caboodle. So understand, just because Dan feels that way now doesn't mean he has to stay that way his entire life moving forward. Just similarly, I had, got out of corporate world because I didn't like all that craziness. Became the entrepreneur, teamed up with Phil Same. We did great things. Next thing you know, we had a huge company with a lot of employees. And it hit me one day like, holy crap, we built corporate America. And it scared, oh, I don't like this. And then went into cocoon mode and went like, you know what, I'm just going to go like solopreneur, a couple of VAs, lean and mean. And now I've had that phase. And now it's like, okay, I'm going to build a team once again, but it's not going to be the excessive team at this particular juncture. I'm willing to bring on some key players and then we'll grow as needed. And right now, I don't envision that to be over 5 people, for a little while. But if and when the time comes, I'm not stuck in that mode of where, I'm just afraid of the big team. When the time's right, if the vision and the why is in alignment, it's something to reassess. It's kind of like as the captain of the ship. We're here at this island, leaving this port. We want to go to this island, and then as you're on the way there, hey, once we get to that port, where are we going? And then maybe, you can have some foresight as to where you're going down the road. So understand, this is where we are right now. Doesn't mean you have to, I made that decision 5 years ago and darn it, I'm sticking to it. It's always reassessing, kind of like that Kodak example. Right. You always have to reassess what makes sense now. From where I am now, how can I do this? Because from my past experience, I can understand the mistakes that I made in doing things the way that I did it. I'm much more wiser, I think, much more learned on what to do, what not to do. So if and when I do it again, I already have those lessons of knowing how to do it much more efficiently and effectively. So grab your piece of paper, and I'm going to share with you something that I think is highly, highly transformational for you. This is something that I shared at a 25K. Actually, it was 25,000 euros per person. There were 12 buying units in the room. So 12 people invested 25,000 euros. So they already have successful businesses. They met me and the other training person in the island, the Cayman Island. I probably should know the name of it. It's got a volcano on it. I can't remember. Anyhow, I travel so much. People ask, where's the marketers cruise going? I don't know. It's going wherever it's going.
Somewhere.
So anyhow, yeah, Tenerife. That's it. The island of Tenerife. They met us at the island of Tenerife in the Canary Islands outside of Spain. And they said this one thing after we trained this on day one of a whole week, spending time with us. One thing was worth the investment of 25,000 euros. And you may have heard me share this from stage. You may have heard me share this in our local mastermind. But I will say this, it's kind of like a book that you've read, whether you've heard it once, twice, 5 times or more, each time you hear it, it sits deeper, it settles deeper into you and you recognize, holy cow, like why did I overlook it the first time? Why did I not do it the second time? Now I'm hoping you actually follow through with this, because when you do, you'll know why those people, those highly successful people said this one thing, this one lesson changed everything for them and was worth the 25,000 euro investment, which is just shy of about $30,000. So here we go. So grab your piece of paper. The first thing you must do is answer these 4 questions. The first question is, what do I need to start doing? What do I need to start doing? Now, I know you're thinking like, oh, great. Like I got other things I need to start. I'm already overwhelmed. My to-do list is already maxed out. It's not about adding 10, 15, 20 more things. It's adding one more thing. Generally every quarter you come back to these 4 questions. Right now, in this particular moment, I want you to think about what are the top 3 things that you're currently not doing in your business that if you did put the time, energy, proper execution into place, it has the potential to 10x your business. Not just add a little bit of growth, but $1 million to 10 million. Now, for some people, that answer is an infomercial. For some people, that's live events all across the world. For some people, that's creating a webinar. For some people, that's turning a webinar that's live into an evergreen webinar. For other people, it's et cetera, et cetera. For you, what would be that answer? And list out the top 3. The thing that you're currently not doing, that if you did implement it and implemented it well, has the potential to 10x your results. Think about that. Okay, so pick out 3 things. Some people it's to write a book. Some people it's to get on a PR circuit and get on the Today Show or get on Home Shopping Network. You see what I'm saying? There's no one size, one shoe fits all. This is you to discern what those answers are, and then narrow it down to the one thing that you discern out of the top 3 possibilities. This is the one thing that I feel A, it's time to start doing, and B, when we do it and we do it well, has a potential to 10x our results. Guess what? Even if it doesn't 10x it, what if it 2x your results? Doubling your results in next year is not a bad thing. Right? Not too shabby. So that's number 1. What do I need to start doing? It's the one thing that you're currently not doing in your business that has a potential to 10x your business. And then things that are important to me. This meeting here with us right now was important. Guess where it went? It went in my calendar. So now I want you to bust out your calendar and schedule in a recurring meeting at a particular day and time for 1 hour. And guess what? If something is, let's just say an infomercial, and you have no idea of how to do infomercials and know where to start, when you schedule that hour, you begin researching, learning. And guess what? There's a little tool called Google and other things. How do I, where would I go to learn about creating an infomercial? And I like to go to my network, like the team of people that I know. Who do I know that's already done infomercials? Oh, okay. I got this person. I'm going to reach out. Hey, I'm thinking it's time for me to start doing an infomercial. Who would be the best person for me to talk to? Begin becoming curious. That's where you start. Then once you get the conversations in motion, then it will lead to an hour a week is actually dedicating the time of moving it forward, progressing it. Make sense? So Dan, did I share step number 1 pretty clearly on
Yeah, absolutely. And it just brought up one question that a lot of the clients I get to work with, I tend to challenge them on, right? So they usually think exactly what you just said is like, oh, I don't need more to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's the one thing you need to be working on. But I always preface this question around this. Mm-hmm. I just say, what's the one thing you don't want to do that if you did it would make everything else possible, right?
Wow.
Right. And so as soon as we can identify that, and you're usually resisting it because you know it's what you want to do, right? But it's like a 2-year-old that plants his feet and says no, right?
Yep. And it has ridiculously amazing potential for you. Now, I can think to one client in particular that for years I kept planting the seed of webinars. Nope, nope, nope. I made the decision years ago. I'm not doing them. And then eventually the seed that was planted over, you know what? Now it's time to start doing webinars. And that has been a huge focus and a huge revenue boost by embracing something that the seeds were there. Like you said, he knew it all along. We've been talking about it for years. And then finally, like, you know what? It is time to start now. And guess what? When you start, just like starting to ride a bike or anything else, you're not going to be the best at it. That's fine. You know this. You start with unconsciously incompetent, consciously incompetent, consciously competent, and then unconsciously competent. Guess what? You got to where you are knowing that process, and you're not going to be the best at it. Who cares? It's something you know is yours to do. The next question, question number 2. So the first question we dealt with, what do I need to start doing? Second question is, what do I need to do more of? And for those who may study Dan Sullivan, these are your unique abilities. These are the things that you can't outsource to anyone else. You can't put systems and process together. This is your intellectual property and the answer to what is the absolute best use of my time, energy, effort, and resources and attention. And so how we find this is a brief little exercise. Now, if you remember listening to Tony Robbins, Dan, you can answer, did you ever hear this particular example? Now, Tony said, now stop the tape. Don't proceed until you do this. I'm on a channel. No, okay, you're still here. That means you didn't stop the tape. Damn it. Stop the tape. Go do it. Then start the tape. Back in the tape days. So I want you to write this down as what to do. And I want you to promise me, Tom, I will do it. Write on your piece of paper. Step number 2, what do I need to do more of? Tom, I promise I will do this exercise. It's this important. It's so important for us. So basically what you do is you take a pad of paper, blank, and you write down as exhaustive list, everything you can think of the activities you personally do related to your business any given month. And that's even if you run to the post office, even if you bring your clothes to the dry cleaner, all the things that you do related to your business, you write them down. And there's psychological reasons for this, because those 2 examples that I just brought up were on purpose. Those are what's called minimum wage activities. And at the level you are, you probably shouldn't be doing them. And as you're writing them down, like, why the hell am I doing this? Like, I should not, at the level I am, I should not be doing these activities. So there's a little lesson in the actual assignment of writing these all down. Write down everything that you do in a given month related to your business. And you're going to see them and especially write down the minimum wage activities. You're going to see them. You're going to be embarrassed when you write it down. Like, I can't believe I haven't delegated this or outsourced this yet or whatever, or put a system in place to remove it from my plate. Then we transition to step number 2 of answering question number 2. What do I need to do more of? Then you pose yourself this question, looking at all those things you do. If you were only allowed to do one of those activities in the upcoming month that would still allow your business to keep growing and thriving, staying alive. It's not I'm going to pick this activity and the business plummets. That's not the activity. It's the activity that keeps the business on a trajectory that's still alive and growing. What on that list is the number one thing? The one thing you would say, yep, this is the thing that's mine to do. And the good news is you don't get just one. Okay, what's the second one? And you get the third one. And I would encourage you to try to narrow it down to 3, but if you need be, you can narrow it down to 4 things. 4 things. Now, let's just use some examples. This, by the way, taps into a couple levels deep of the Pareto principle, the 80-20 principle. Let's just say you had 100, just to keep the math simple, 100 activities that you do in a given month. You're going to narrow it down to the first level of Pareto principle. 20 out of those 100 are giving you 80% of the results. But of those 20% of those give you the 4 activities that give you the 80% of those 20, which basically those 4 activities give you, in essence, 64% of the entire output that you're currently doing. Make sense? So those 4 things are vital for you to know, because those are the answer to what's the absolute best use of my time, energy, and focus. And there they are. And going back to the same thing that I said with question number 1, now that you've identified these as the best use of your time, guess where they go next? Inside your calendar. You schedule these. You schedule them. And you're going to find, let's just give an example, like, holy cow, let's say, okay, I want to get healthy. I ate healthy food. I moved my body more, whatever that is. I got proper sleep, and I stayed well hydrated. Whoa, I did those 4 things, and holy cow, Tom, Dan, In a month, I dropped 15 pounds. Like, this stuff works. Like, yeah, when you actually do the things that are the needle movers, holy crap, they work. Same thing with your business. When you actually schedule those 4 things, 3 to 4 things into your calendar, plus put the hour of the answer to what do I need to start doing, you've now got 4 to 5 hours scheduled. But those are the big rocks. Remember back to the example that you probably saw years ago with the huge pickle jar. And there's rocks, there's big rocks next to it, there's smaller rocks, there's pebbles, there's sand, and there's a thing of water. What this is going to do is now you're putting the big rocks into this jar first. Because if you don't, life's going to take over. You're going to be a firefighter, putting the little rocks in, the pebbles and the sand. And then when it comes time, there's no time to fit the big rocks in. And just like that example with the health, those 3 to 4 things in health, you do that consistently. Holy crap, you're healthy. Whoa, same thing in business. Holy crap, I did these important things and look where my business is going. It's skyrocketing right now. It's not rocket science, it's common sense. But common sense isn't common practice. So going back to the basics is key. So that's the description of the second answer. So the first question was, what do I need to start doing? Second question is, what do I need to do more of? Those are the 3 to 4 things that are the absolute best use of your time, the unique abilities. You schedule them and you stick to the schedule. Dan, flip it over to you. What do you think?
Okay. I mean, and definitely, what I know is I call it income producing activity. Like, where is the best, and, highest and best use of my time?
Yes.
Right. And a lot of times, especially someone that, could be classified as like a control freak, you want to do it all. And I would actually lie to myself and tell myself, well, I actually like building funnels, or I like, doing the ad campaigns. And really, that's not the highest and best use of my time, right? So definitely, all those things hit home, and I've identified those over the years and been able to get better at, having people on my team, hiring people on the team to do certain things, and give up that control so that I can just focus on that 20% or less, right? To really hone in, like, where do I need to be spending my time?
Right. And for those who've studied Dan Sullivan, you know that in his company, Strategic Coach, he keeps in his lane. He has warning signs. If Dan ever strays outside of his 3 to 4 things, like, whoa, hey buddy, aren't you supposed to be in your little lane there? Like, oh, sorry, I got a little crazy in my mind. Yep, right. Sorry about that. You want to have systems in your business similar to that, where you are just in your lane, in your zone, in your sweet spot. And guess what? The same process that we're doing with these 4 questions with you, the captain of the ship, you want to do with every one of your leaders. And then have your leaders do it with every one of your team members, so that everybody has clarity on what's theirs to do. You know what's mine to do. Your leaders know what's theirs to do, and everyone on the team knows what's theirs to do. This is very, very powerful. So then we move to question number 3, and you're going to love this answer. So the next question is, what do I need to do less of? What do I need to do less of? And the answer is everything else that's on that list. Remember that list you made with all those things on it? You need to do less of every of those things. So if you picked 4, there's 96 others for that example that we used earlier. You need to do less of them. Now, you understand, and I understand, and I'll reiterate, they don't disappear, right? It's not about putting blinders on and neglecting stuff, but what you'll find is just from you observing and recognizing, what the best use of your time and activities and focus are, the income producing, revenue producing activities. When you see these other things, A, you're not going to put them in first. You're going to make sure you follow through with your big rocks. B, when you do them, you're going to hit them with a perspective of this. If I have to do this and know that it's not mine to do as an ongoing, it's not the best use of my time, while I'm doing it, I'm going to make a step-by-step system, a process of exactly how I'm doing it, so that when I'm done with this, I can now take this and get it to an assistant or get it to someone that's on my team that then can get it done without me having to do it. Or, basically to outsource, delegate, or systemize or process. Some of the things can be automated. Like Dan said, a lot of times we just, I actually believed in that whole philosophy of, I misinterpreted Self-Made Millionaire. And I also believed in, if it's going to be, it's up to me, beating my chest and bragging about how hard I was working, until finally I found out Self-Made Millionaire. I learned from Brian Tracy, he had 40 employees. It blew my mind. Like, that's not a self-made millionaire. That's a team.
Yeah.
It was just a misinterpretation on my part, which cost me years of struggle and the pounding my chest saying, if it's going to be, it's up to me. There's not enough time to learn it all. We don't have what Bill Murray had in Groundhog Day, to live that same day and learn piano and sing. We can't learn all that stuff in the 24 hours. We got to stick in our lane And so if we're doing those activities that we know are not the best use of our time, if we choose to do them personally, we want to make a system, a process, so that we don't have to do them. They get done, but it's not by us. And pretty soon, magically, almost magically, you wake up, you're like, crap, that stuff never even comes to me now. It's still getting done, but not by me. So that's the brilliance of what do I need to do less of? Dan, thoughts on that one?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely for me, one of the practices that I do is pretty much every week I'll take, a half hour and kind of write out like, okay, what are the activities of things that I have going on this week? And I'll find myself every once in a while straying into, okay, I logged into the website. A lot of people on my team now like keep me logged out of them. They say, don't go in there because I usually break stuff. Right. So, but I really have to find that thing that's like, I should not be doing. And for me, I have to see it on paper, right? Because a lot of times we have so many things going on as business owners that we're just trying to knock things out. And that old saying of, if I want it done right, I got to do it. I can do it myself. Right. And I would tell myself that lie as well for so long. Right. And it was like, and I found out there's a lot of people that are better at a lot more things than me. Right. Yep. So really getting clear on like what you should not be doing, and just eliminating. And honestly, I could tell you, it is the most freeing thing, right? Once you start letting go, because you then feel like you are in total alignment with what we talked about in the beginning, your why, right?
Yep.
You're not bogging yourself down with a bunch of petty stuff that you should not be focused on.
Yep, absolutely. And holy cow, it becomes kind of like a fun little game. Like, wait a minute, this came across my desk. Well, first of all, your team learns to become problem solvers without having to bring you into it, right? They're like, we know we're not going to get any. If we bring it to Dan or Tom's attention, they're going to tell us, well, explain to me what you tried that didn't work. Like, why is this coming to my plate right now? Like, fill me in on who you've gone to and what solutions you've gone. And, so it empowers your team to become problem solvers and not come with you as the firefighter for everything. And similarly for all the tasks, they know once you go through this process, they know what the absolute best use of your time is. And everything outside of those 3 to 4 things, it's up to them to gain the initiative and get it done. and it empowers them to become resourceful and figure it out versus you becoming the root of all the resourcefulness and solutions. We already know, hey, I'm a great problem solver. Bring me all the problems. That's the young you. The older you is like, I'm a great problem solver, and I'm also great at bringing on the right team members who are also amazing problem solvers. So you got it. Figure it out, and let me know when I want to hear the victory high five of, hey, guess what? We figured out it's even better than what we thought. So empowering them to do that. Then the fourth question. So we talked about, what do I need to start doing? What do I need to do more of? What do I need to do less of? The last question is, what do I need to stop doing altogether? And this is quite interesting because sometimes that's a whole chapter. Actually, a whole business may have been started by, this is what was ours to do. And as things adjust and as the marketplace adjusts, you get to a certain point where, like, you know what, that part's not serving us anymore. We're going to cut that part of the business completely out. I mean, Berkshire Hathaway is a good example. Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest individuals on the planet, bought a textile manufacturing company called Berkshire Hathaway, and it hasn't been doing textile manufacturing for decades. Right? That closed decades ago. He just didn't change the name. So businesses need to have that adaptability to understand there's some chapters that just don't serve what it used to, and it's time to close that door. And think about this and other things. I use the movie Office Space, the TPS report. The guy, the TPS report is just a waste of my time, and it doesn't, like, what are the wastes of time that just, it's been the way that business has always been, and you're like, you know what, I really don't see the point in that anymore. Cut that off. And then personally, what do I need to stop doing? This gets back to basically just growing up, right? So, in today's day and age, addictions abound, right? Like, so this thing's addictive. The games on this are addictive. The social media apps on this are addictive. The dating sites on this, I have clients that I've had to talk, like, how productive do you think it is to sit on that dating app and swiping for hours a day? Like, you're running $100 million business. Do you think that's really the best use of your time? Everybody has their thing in today's day and age. You need to come to this understanding and recognize, where is my most precious and ever fleeting asset being pulled away and being wasted instead of invested? Because time, if we're spending time in a video game, we're not spending it in our business. We're not spending it with our family. We're not spending it on ourselves. There's an opportunity cost. When you're giving your time and attention to something, you're not giving your time and attention to the other important things in your area. And this goes back to your why. The why of a business owner, hopefully going to what I don't want. What I don't want is to grow a hugely successful business, even to the billions, and have my wife or husband hate me and have my children hate me and not be there for them. Right? Hopefully that's what you don't want, right? And at the same time, I don't want to build $1 billion business and gain 50 pounds in the process and have mental, emotional, and physical health problems as a result. Hopefully that's not your desired outcome as well. Literally, you can have it all if you start with those intentions and you start with the challenge of, look, I don't want to build this business in a workaholic mode, working 20 hours a day. I want to accept the challenge that I want to keep growing at a record pace, but requiring less of my time because of the systems, the processes, the team members that I put in place. We're growing at ridiculous rates because I know what's ours to do and everyone else knows what's theirs to do as well. And someone hit me with a quote, says, Tom, of course you'll be successful working like that, those amount of hours, but how's your health? How's your family? It's going to impact other lives. You want to impress me, get the same results in half the amount of time and then do it again. So accept the challenge that you can still get those incredible results in half the amount of your time with the proper systems, the proper team, etc. It can happen. The less I work, the more I earn. It's kind of an interesting concept that people don't believe it until it happens. And like, holy crap, I wish I'd believed it earlier. Pretty cool, right? So Dan, comments on what do we need to stop doing?
Yeah, I definitely can relate to that. Like, I remember the first year that I made more money and working less. And I just was like, everybody was like, Dan's a lifestyle guy, right? And he's always out boating and doing all this stuff. And like, I didn't even honestly consciously recognize it until like one day I was out and I was thinking like, I'm actually making more money than I ever made. And I'm not even working. Like, I'm literally working like 5 to 10 hours a week. Like, what is going on here? Like, how did this happen? Right. Well, how it happened is all the stuff that you're sharing here is I got really clear on what I'm good at. I got really clear on what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do. And I'm going to not distract myself with, all the shiny objects out there and just get laser focused on, what I need to eliminate and what I need to focus on. Right. And, everything. So, but that was, unconsciously I created that. Right. Knowing these things. But it wasn't until the first year that I experienced that I was like, wow, this is pretty interesting. I was like, how do I do more of this? Right. And I was like, why didn't I do this earlier in my life? Right. Cause I was always of that mindset. I'm a hard worker. I'm an A-type driven person. I could work 20 hours a day. And now I see people
bragging.
Yeah. I'm bragging about it.
Which leads to sticking in the office, even when you didn't necessarily have to be there. And a lot of time wasting, and a lot of
busy work, just creating busy work for no reason. Yeah.
And how do I know so well? Because I was there, exactly. Right. Yeah. I think we all have to go through that kind of boot camp and recognize we become the fulfillment of who we say we are. And if I brag about how hard I am of a worker and how long I'm working and think that's something that needs a pat on the back, we're going to reinforce that with being that way and spending those long hours and meanwhile neglecting myself mentally, physically, emotionally, and those that are close to me. They're not getting me because opportunity costs. If my time's wasted in the office, not being efficient, it's not time that can be spent with the ones that are important to me. So there's a big shift there. So hopefully that is a epiphany for you, like it was for both of us years ago. So that's the clarity in CPR. So we're 1/3 of the way. This was the longer part. As you notice in the beginning, it's usually, intent. It's 80% in the beginning and the 20%. So the two letters to sum it up are pretty quick. But the clarity is so important. I mean, think about it. We're going to actually get to the P. Here comes the P. Write this down. So CPR. P is the plan, right? The plan. Now think of a nice little app we have, Uber or Lyft, and we talked about clarity. Now we get to the plan. The implementation of this plan is, okay, I know where I am and I know where I want to go. So Uber, I get in there. I'm like, okay, here's where I am. It does it pretty simply for me by the GPS. You got to tell it where you want to go. I don't know if you ever had a conversation with an Uber or Lyft driver. Hey, where do you want to go? I don't know. Oh, dude, I need to know where you go. I don't know. Thinking, well, I'm not going anywhere until you tell me where you want to go. Similarly, this is where the plan comes in. So now from your clarity, you need to know very crystal clear, here's where I am and here's where I want to go. And then from there, you reverse engineer, okay, begin with the end in mind. That's where I want to go. If we keep doing what we've been doing, we're going to get to where we've been getting. We want to get to a different location, different destination. So we have to do things a little bit differently. That exercise that we just went through with the 4 questions may open up some possibilities of what those different things are, how you're going to manage your most precious, never fleeting asset of time better, as well as knowing what are you going to start doing. That's a whole different plan that you can now engage your team with and just tell them as the captain of your ship, here's where we're going. Here's where we are. Here's where we're going. We're starting to do this. And what that means is, and now you lay out that plan, reverse engineer. Same thing for the other actions that are there. So one of the things I learned years ago in a Dale Carnegie training is this brief breakdown. Write this down. As is, should be. Basically, that's where you're starting, where you want to be. And in between there, that's the barriers. And then the payoff comes off to the side. Like, how's your life going to be different when you get to the destination of the should be? So as is, should be, barriers, and payoff. And so think about that. As is, you need to know crystal clear. Here's where we are. The good, the bad, the ugly. I've seen, and Dan, you may have seen this as well. A lot of entrepreneurs don't even want to look at, they don't even want to look at the situation. I don't have time to look at it. Well, you need to know where you are. And they're super clear. And honestly, here's where we are. And then the clarity on the should be. If everything goes well and the plan goes crystally, amazingly well, here's where we'll be. What does that look like? What is that should be? That basically, think if you are the captain of the ship, you're at this port, you're leaving this port, you're going to the next port. That way it'll give you the directions and you'll know the navigation to get there. Then you have to think about the barriers that are going to come up. Proactively think about the barriers. So we're here, we want to get here. What are some things we can think about that we have pretty good idea that these might be some of the big challenges and obstacles we'll face? This is very important because you're not going to know a lot of the obstacles until you get there, but you'll know from experience that these are probably some of the obstacles we're going to face. And then you have to dig deep with your why and assess, like, no matter what, we're still going to persevere. We're going to improvise, adapt, and overcome. But pick out those barriers, those obstacles, and then know that they're going to be there in advance. Expect them to be there, yet head out on the journey anyhow. And then you have to think about the payoff. How's my life going to be? When the business reaches this goal, what's that going to mean to me, my family, the business, the team members? How's our life going to be different when we reach that goal? That payoff circles back to the why. That payoff circles back to the attachment to the heart. That's going to give you the solidification that, yeah, we're going to run into these barriers, but guess what? We got a kick butt team here that's really great at overcoming obstacles, and we're going to improvise, adapt, and overcome, and we're going to make it to that island because we know the payoff is waiting for us. That emotional connection is key before we set off on that journey. And then reverse engineer it and pick up the plan. I like to do this. Write this down. Stop, think, act. My military background. I just got done speaking at a guerrilla marketing event. You have to think, not in this. It's not stop, think for 3 months and then act. It's stop, think, and act. Hey, we want to take that mountain. Here's where we are. Here's where we want to be. It's time for us to head this way. And we're going to find out once we get this way, if it's going to be clear, if it's going to be a dead end, or if we need to just backtrack. Like, we're going to find it out while we're on the journey. Think about climbing a mountain. If you sat there and broke down, okay, you need to take 25 steps that way, then turn right and take 43 steps, then turn. You can't predict that far in advance, but what you can do is stop, think, act, and embrace the philosophy of improvise, adapt, and overcome. And know that you'll figure it out, and you'll stop, think, act, and adjust accordingly with that new information. So the plan, we're not going to dig too deep into it here in the plan, but circle back over to Dan. Dan, how important is identifying the plan, not overthinking it, in that a plan that knows a plan never goes to plan, right? So any overthought plan is going to waste a lot of time, because as soon as it's implemented, what's the quote from Mike Tyson? Everyone has a plan till they get punched in the face. By Mike Tyson. Then they're like, oh, plan change. This dude can hit. That's what life is going to do for any of our plans. So crafting the plan quickly, nimbly, but then implementing it right away. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So, one of the things that was coming to mind there is I have some friends that are pilots, right? And, as a pilot, they would tell me, it's like, because most of the stuff is automated today. They just put in the coordinates and the plane pretty much flies itself, right? But there's occasional things that happen. But one of the things they told me is, like, if the coordinates are off by 1 degree, you think about the accuracy, right, of taking off from one place in the world and flying to a location and landing in those exact coordinates, right? It's the same thing in business, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're off by a degree or two, as long as you have the team around you to kind of course correct you and bring you back in, into alignment, you'll stay on course. But one of the things you shared there is like, if you don't know where you're at, right, and where you're starting from, and it happens at every level. It's not like just like newbies starting, like I'm just starting a business today. It's literally, you have a multi-million-dollar business, you're at a certain level and there's a lot of chaos going on in your life, right? And you're trying to, harness it in, and you don't want to deal with it. So you push things aside, right? So how do you get yourself, really focused in on like, here's what's really going on. Here's where I am financially. Here's where I am in my relationships. Here's where my health's at right now. And here's where I am spiritually, right? And when you look at those areas of your life and really dive deep into like, what are the emotions behind it and what's it costing you, right? To not reach the next level of what you want to be able to achieve for you and your life, right? There is a cost to it. There's a cost of not doing this. And most of us as entrepreneurs, we want to go, build big things, right? But we're not taking the time to just sit back, right? And calm things, right? Be still, right? And just see everything that's going on, because when you slow down, you can speed up, right? You slow down the speed up.
I just had flashbacks of thinking it was all about the quickness and and just running like the rabbit, running like,
right.
And now it's just a confident, cool, calm, collected step after step with consistency. I do a morning walk every day. Wanda joined me this morning on the morning walk to the beach. I've always said it's been 1.7 miles each way, but actually found out it's 1.9 miles. So roughly 4 miles a day round trip. And guess what? One step at a time, you get there. And then when you get there, you do your I see the sunrise on occasion, do some intention setting and do my little routine, and then walk back. And one step at a time, you can get far distance. And that circles back to a quote that I actually mentioned in a video this morning. You're either consistent or non-existent. When you have the plan, it's not about saying, hey, I'm going to get healthy. Today I'm going to the gym, and December 7th, I'm going to go to the gym. And January 7th, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym once a month. You're not going to get that healthy, right? I'm just letting you know. And I'm going to continue to eat the crap that I'm eating, but going to the gym is my one strategy. There comes a point where you have to be consistently taking those steps, whether you feel like it or not. And guess what? Like I said earlier, we as entrepreneurs are fortunate and blessed that we can be the dreamers and hey, I'm here, I want to get there, and we can turn that dream into reality. But we also have to be willing to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to get there with that commitment that circles back to the why, that circles back to the payoff that's waiting for us when we get there, that pulls us to take the actions one step at a time, whether we necessarily feel like it or not, and be that leader, calm, cool, collected, consistent action upon the plan. And then it actually transitions into the third letter, which is the results. So we have the clarity, the plan, and the results. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, results, great. No, the results at this level, while we're taking that consistent action, guess what's happening? We're getting data. We're getting traffic, and we're sending them to an opt-in page, and we're knowing of how many out of 100 people, there's only 5 people opting in. Whoop, warning signs. Like, it's not a good, the results are off track. The results are off the anticipated acceptable guidelines at that particular example. So what are we doing? What's wrong to where we're sending 100 people that are qualified people that can benefit from this, and only 5 out of 100 are opting in? Where are we missing the mark? We need to begin testing this, and hopefully you're testing things right away. So one test is getting 5 out of 100, one's getting 20 out of 100. Well, you get rid of the 5, you go with the 20, and then you add another test to get higher conversions of the 20. So now you get up to 30, 40, 50 per 100. Those numbers are in order. So results, basically the results means while you're consistently taking those actions of the plan, you are getting the feedback from the marketplace. You're getting the feedback from, here's what our desired outcomes are. Here's what our intentions are. Are the results on track or off track? And we're continually iterating, we're continually testing, we're continually tweaking until the results are in alignment with what our goals are. And I talked about opt-ins, but the same thing applies to all the data of, okay, of those opt-ins, how many people are, if there's an immediate one-time offer, how many of those people out of 100 people that opted in, how many are taking advantage of that one-time offer? 5 out of 100. Okay, not so bad. I think we can do a little bit more. So we got 5, and the other test is doing 7. Okay, can this 5? We got the 7. How can we test and a new offer that's congruent with that, just describes it in a different manner to get the highest conversion possible there. The results is the data. So we're continually, and you mentioned, Dan, the pilot. It'd be like a pilot falling asleep and somehow the thing was off by a degree. You know, if he wasn't listening to the data or seeing that it was off course, they're going to be way off course. Like, you want to keep your finger on the pulse, per se, of the data. Are the consistent actions we're taking giving us the results that we were anticipating? And how are we testing that? How are we improving that? How are we optimizing that every step of the way? From the lead sources that we're testing, to the opt-in pages, to the one-time offers, to the emails being opened, the subject lines that are being opened, the links that are being clicked in the email, etc. It all has data, and we need to know how to take that data and assess it and say, do we continue with the plan that we have, or do we modify it a little bit based on the data? And when you do that, your finger's on the pulse of all the activities that you're taking, every step that you're taking. And just like my morning walk, if we get diverted, we need to get back on track. One step at a time, we're going to be. If we head east, we're 1.9 miles west. We head east, baby. We're going to get there one step at a time. In your business, you will get there one step at a time, but you do have to course correct. You do have to write these down, improvise, adapt, and overcome with the results that are coming back, AKA the data that's coming back. Dan, thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, we all want results, right?
Yeah.
So we want the results of not just obviously cash flow, but we want to, you know, for why we're doing what we're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the, you know, the outcome of what we really want, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, one of the things that I was thinking about there is a lot of times, you know, being in the agency related world like me, you know, where I run lead gen for different types of businesses. One of the common threads of what, you know, people usually come to me with is they say my leads are horrible. The quality of my leads are bad, right? And
I need the good leads, Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross. Give me the good leads.
Yeah. So what I found is 99% of the time it has nothing to do with the leads, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has to do with the quality of their offer. It has the quality of their enrollment and sales process. And 99% of the time, they're not even following up with people, right? You know, beyond 2 or 3 contacts, right? And we know where the majority of sales are made,
in the
right?
Follow-up.
Yeah. So if you want to create results, you know, there's an immediate thing like already around you, right? That you could implement, right, with your existing database, your existing contacts, right, to be able to leverage, you know, and accelerate the process to create the results that you want. So if you were to look at, you know, the data of, you know, every day based on, you know, going through this process that we just laid out here, if you look at that data on a daily basis, what you're going to see is, you know, you're going to accelerate your growth faster than ever before, right? You're going to really, you know, at the end of the day, when you know why you're doing what you're doing and what you really want, and you're doing the work every day to create it, right? Not creating more work for yourself, but creating the right work, right? To create the right results that you want that are in total alignment. So this whole thing, like, you know, it's like a, you know, just think of it like a, you know, a timeline of like, it's literally like a thread of everything comes together, right? Because you're doing what you want to be doing, what you should be focused on, creating, you know, exponential results, because you're now clear on what you want, what you're clear on what you should be doing, clear on what you shouldn't be doing. And more importantly, you know why you're doing, because that's the biggest piece. Like, I think most people miss out on that, which is why the failure rate in a lot of businesses is there, because they lose the why, right? Even at the highest levels, you've probably experienced this as well. It's like, you'll see people reach, you know, massive levels and then they get burned out, right? Or they get bored with it, right? And then what happens? The whole thing crashes, right? And then they got to start over, right? Or they, you know, revamp everything, right? So, but at the end of the day, this is all about the results that you want.
Personally and professionally, right? Personally and professionally. It's not just the monetary thing. And this whole plan is simple, just like CPR. Like, you may have studied CPR back in the day, and it's about, there's a simple process to this that can rejuvenate someone who is in need, right? To get them breathing again. Well, this is to rejuvenate your mind, rejuvenate your business. And this was just something that Dan and I are like, you know what, we want to make a difference. And we're going to reach out to our friends in the Palm Beach County Lifestyle and Results Mastermind. You know what, if there's nobody on there, if there's one person, if there's 20 people on there, we're going to deliver this. And the hope is that it connected some dots in your mind. And guess what? Dan and I aren't like, hey, this is copyrighted. Look, the knowledge this is timeless knowledge that we've studied from the best of the best for decades, each of us, that we wanted to remind you. And hopefully you're like me, when you hear some foundational wisdom, you're like, you know what? I've heard that before, but it's time for me to actually do it. Think about that. If we actually, Dan, me, you, actually did all the things we knew how and what to do, we'd all be billionaires. But guess what? We get emotional lazy at times. And now this is a reminder to you to say, you know what? The year is coming to a close. The decade is coming to a close. There's a new year. There's a new decade ahead. And I am going to be an implementer of the things I know. And I'm going to surround myself with the people who can remind me and keep me on track with the plan, that remind me of the why, that keep me motivated to follow through with doing what's mine to do, because I'm committed about the destination being accomplished and the value that it's providing for people. And I'm committed to doing it in a way that's not pounding my chest, bragging on how hard I'm working, but doing it in a way that's achieving the quote that the less I work, the more I earn. Yes, it's possible for you. And Dan and I have a part 2 to this. This is part 1, which hopefully you gain some value. We'd love to hear your feedback. We'd love to hear any testimony. If you feel called to do that, by all means, write out a testimonial, record a video testimonial, however you feel is the way to share your appreciation for what we've done here today. We've given like Dan stepped away from his family, his business. I stepped away from my family, my business to work with you. Opportunity cost wise, yes, we made that choice, and we hope that was well received on your part, and we'd love to hear from you. So if you are called to create a testimonial, audio, video, text, we're open to receive that. That's kind of one of the reasons we do what we do. We love helping people. That said, we're also hosting something here in South Florida. Dan, I'll pass it over to you to share some details on what we have coming up and how people that see this can, if lucky enough, see it before this occurs, join us and take it to a whole nother level.
Yeah. So here's something that I want to share with you is what I've noticed over the years is when I pull away to go to an event, right, and maximize my time there, it pulls me away from the chaos of the business so that I could actually focus in and accelerate this process, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes, I would literally will fly across country to go to an event for one day, right? Just mm-hmm. and a lot of times just the travel alone, right, yep, is just enough to pull away, just to calm my mind, right, mm-hmm, and get me refocused. So one of the things that Tom and I have decided to do is we're going to start a live mastermind here in South Florida, December 5th, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., right? It's 4 mm-hmm. hours will be the initial one that we're going to launch, right? Mm-hmm. And we want a small group of people, right? Mm-hmm. Small group of people that are serious about their business, that are in a place where they know they have some challenges, and right now where you're currently at, you need some help, right? You need to gain some clarity, you need some resources, some things that may be off, right? And I know, like, for both of us, we've both invested probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in our education, right, over the years in this industry. And we have a wealth of knowledge to share. But at the end of the day, we don't need to, overwhelm you with more training. That's not what this is about, right? This is a facilitated type event. There will be some lessons that will be training on specific topics, but it's more so about helping you gain clarity, go through the CPR method and actually implement it so that when you leave, you have a very clear plan that this is what you're implementing in your business that day.
Yep. I just came from speaking at an event, the Guerrilla Marketing event, and then there was a 2-day mastermind afterwards. And Dan, I totally agree with just the travel up there. I actually made the choice to take an Amtrak versus drive since Wanda couldn't make it with me. And from that epiphany, I actually said, next time we go up there, Wanda, I think we both need to take an Amtrak instead of drive, because there's this, that was the moment when Tony Robbins gained his clarity, when he was on a train, and it was wild. It was only 4 hours, but I got more work done in that uninterrupted 4 hours than, sometimes multiple days, if not a week. I gained massive clarity. I added in some things to my presentation that just were well received. So there is massive value from stepping away from the busyness of business and from the busyness of life, not just, being that CEO, that founder, that runner of the business, but many cases, a leader in your family, so you're a leader in your company, you're a leader in your family, and there's chaos, not in a bad way chaos, but there's always something. So you're a firefighter at work, you're a firefighter at home, and sometimes that little break can give you clarity on its own. So we're going to have for you 4 hours. And I want to share this in the mastermind. Within the first 30 minutes, I had a breakthrough that will change 2020 for me. And that's why, like, some people will look at it, well, wait a minute, it's not a multi-day event. It doesn't need to be, and we're not here to waste our time or your time. This is going to be hard-hitting, small, intimate. Where are you? Where are you going? Well, based on Dan's knowledge, my knowledge, and the knowledge of the people in the room, we're going to help you break through barriers, break through patterns that have held you back. And just like I witnessed in the first 30 minutes, I can guarantee within the first hour, you're going to be super thankful. I learned what I needed to learn. I got my mind clear, and you would be ready to bounce on hour one. But guess what? There's more. You're going to have another one, hour two, another one, hour three, at least an epiphany per hour that will get you the clarity of stuff that you probably have rattling around in your head, brought back to a clear action plan to really maximize 2020 and the upcoming decade. As Dan mentioned, there's really no two other people more well connected in the industry than he and I. And also, my guess would probably be upwards to hundreds and hundreds of thousands. It's ridiculous of how much that we have been behind the scenes working on large multi-million-dollar launches, working with people that have the tens of millions of results, the hundreds of millions of results. And we also have the passion for helping people that are just kicking off their new idea, their new business, et cetera, to save the pain, the agony, and the trauma that literally can occur on your own. The whole I'm going to do it on my own. I'm going to figure it out on my own. Well, we're going to help save you regardless of where you are from just starting or the elite level of marketing. But that's what we have going on December 5th from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. We'd love to have you involved. This is not a free event. Like, it's not over the top, out of reach for most people, but it's not a free event because we're looking for people that at least have some skin in the game, right? That they're there for a reason. And the bottom line is, like, at this last mastermind, we had someone there and they're like, well, would you give access to your product to me? One of the person asked, and the guy said, you know what? I charge my wife for this product. And here's the bottom line. If you don't buy it, you aren't going to use it. I'd be doing you a disservice if I gave it to you. So similarly, like Wanda, if she wants to come, she'll have to buy a ticket, right? And everybody coming will be a paid ticket holder, because this is the ones who are serious, the ones who are committed. Like I said, it's not going to be super outrageous, but it is going to have a ticket price that's making it a serious situation. So if you're curious and if you're excited and you're ready to take 2020 to the next level, if you're ready to take not just the year, but the decade, finish this year properly and start the next year with tremendous traction. Dan, how do they reach out to us and see if they qualify to participate?
Yeah, so I'm just thinking too, Tom, like one of the things I like to do is like, I don't mind having a conversation with people and make sure it really is a good fit for them. So if you want to hit me up, I don't want to give up your time as well, but just a quick conversation that we could have, just hit me up, send me a message and we'll set a quick time to just kind of check in with you, see where you're at, make sure that it will fit you. Here's what I know. I absolutely guarantee without a shadow of a doubt that by you being in that room, things will change for you, right? That's how confident I am in what I do and what, the collective efforts of the super duo here, coming together to do this. I'm excited about it. We get to impact lives. And I know that by, you being in the room, making the decision to be in a room with like-minded people, I really want to make sure that, it's a good group of people. So I'll gladly have a quick conversation, 10, 15 minutes, to kind of check in with you to make sure that this is really a good fit for you. And again, we're not talking about thousands of dollars to be at this event. But I guarantee you it's definitely worth, that and more, right, to you and your business.
Big time. So we hope this was helpful. I just did a quick look, man, not too bad. We fit quite a bit in the CPR method in a brief amount of time. Like I said, our hope is this impacted you. And if you want more, like, this is the tip of the iceberg. Like, we're going to dive deep and we're going to really understand where you are, where you're looking to go, and how to get there in the most efficient and effective manner and successful manner possible. So we look forward to hearing from you. Reach out to Dan, reach out to myself, and see if you're the right fit for this. And on December 5th, it's go time, baby. We're going to have some great people in the room, and it will be a moment people reflect back on. That's where I gained the clarity to produce the results that I'm producing. So I hope you're one of them. And if you feel called to give either of us or a collective testimonial for our time dedicated to you today, we are definitely open to that as well. So hope you have a continued awesome day, and hope you're ready to rock the completion of this year and the start of 2020 and the start of a new decade. Dan, thanks for being with me
Awesome.
today. I enjoyed our synergy here, and I know this is the beginning of many more amazing things that we'll be sharing with the world here shortly.
Absolutely. Exciting times.
Yep. All right.
All right.
Be today great. Chat with y'all soon.
Bye-bye.